Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Risen Dominate. This is week 7, I believe, the last week before we get to the quarterfinals. My name is Drake. I'm joined with Quacks. We're here for the last week of the regular season, and we're already in draft. As you guys can see on your screens, we have Zaya band away, as well as, geez, I am so blind. What is that other champion?
The other champion is going to be Hecarim. So far we are firing through the bands. Actually, we have
Yeah,
Zaya
actually.
at Ziggs, Hecarim band. So the winning formula obviously targeting away the ADC here. Just making sure that a lot of those meta picks are not up and available. Kaisa is still on the board as well, and Sivir, a champion I feel that has been gaining a decent amount of traction since 1320 is also up and available. So we'll have to see if they're sticking with just banning away the ADC or if they're going to pivot to something like the jungle potentially. There are a decent amount of jungle
A4.
pool champions available. Yep, Jarvan banned away. And I am really curious to see if the winning formula on the blue side is going to pivot toward getting that jungle priority
There's
first. So
no way
something
he's
like
going to call it.
Rammus. Yeah, but actually they are going to give the ADC first, and Jinx is the first lock in. This champion is so strong since that passive. I don't know if you want to call it a revert, but if you're an old player like myself, you can definitely call it that with the now being uncapped and being able to stack again. Those get excited stacks are nothing to scoff at, so this champion has huge priority, which is probably why it's the first pick.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, if we're on the patch where that is live, we also have to think about other things like Caitlyn, with Yomo's being very strong. Zeri is not a champion that I think has been put in the limelight as of yet, but it does look like it's going to be picked up by WLS as a response. Kind of a weird read on the meta, in my opinion, right now, but I guess maybe not playing the Caitlyn build that is super strong at the moment, picking up that Recon at least to deny it, and a couple of decent things coming out from them. But I would have expected maybe a little bit of a different read on the meta.
Yeah, I mean, Zeri still has her strengths if you are able to pair it up with a strong 2v2 pairing, and I think Rakan exemplifies that perfectly. Rakan offers so much in being able to peel, engage, and it leaves a lot of wiggle room around for that jungle pick, which is most likely going to be the third one for WLS. Speaking of jungle picks, the winning formula have locked in Maokai next, so a decent amount of lockdown coming out from this jungle and ADC pick. You have Maokai as a champion with that W and that ultimate, and Jinx with her traps as well. Also being able to really capitalize of that sort of pick style that is being played. But Graves locked in immediately here for the winning formula. This champion is also unbelievably strong, and with that there, that is most likely a Maokai support here on this blue side.
Yeah, and I love to see it. I think it's really actually quite decent into Recon. A lot of poke also in that lane. Jinx and obviously Maokai throwing the saplings in lane into the bushes. Lee Sin as a response is a little whack. I feel like Graves, like you said, is super, super strong in this meta, but I haven't seen Lee Sin pop off nearly as much. But it might just be a little bit of a comfort pick for Birdo. Does end up getting locked in. And that's 3 champs on either side. I would lean more towards the winning formula, at least with their meta read for now, but at the end of the day, comfort is super important in this league as well. I feel like bans for the other side for WLS towards the winning formula. I feel we should be looking towards the mid lane Tristana. I mean,
Yeah.
like this draft is already throwing me so far off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, both junglers, it looks like they are going for two champions that can really exemplify that Doran's Blade meta that has been going on since the new patch. You basically back, and then you get the Doran's Blade, and it offers a lot of value to your 1v1 potential. And I think that that's what we're going to see a lot of in this game, especially in this early game, is a lot of scrapping, especially toward that bot side. Lots of lockdown, lots of damage coming out from these bot sides of both of these teams. I think it is very possible that we see something around the 4 minute mark, around the Scuttle Crab mark, where these teams can potentially fight up in that river. And I think it is going to be all about skill at that point. So excited to see that. But yeah, continuing the mid lane ban train, we have Syndra taken away. And I would imagine that we are now actually going to start.
Aatrox.
Yeah, we are going to ban away the Aatrox, followed by the Swain immediately after. Don't even have time to blink before that was taken away. So there is a lot of emphasis being put on making sure that PhD in mid lane cannot get some of his more comfortable champions. I think a lot of the champions that scale really well are still up and available. Azir, notably, has not been banned away. So I think both of these teams, if they are looking for more scaling in the mid lane, a little bit more zone control, should
Ari.
consider that Azir. But yeah, WLS going to throw in that Arya Classic and probably a comfort pick as well.
And I think it fits the theme. Obviously, Zeri is a champion that likes to run after the enemy team. Rakan doing the same thing, obviously also looking for engages. And I mean, just the sheer amount of follow up, right? If Ari lands a charm, you have Rakan W, you have Rakan ultimate, you have Lee Sin Q, you even have Zeri Eing over a wall, right? So a lot of follow up on that side. The winning formula is picking up the Talia, which I actually expected PhD to pick up since he's really comfortable on the champion. But quality player who obviously plays that Ari quite a bit. It looks like these two mid laners kind of swapped comforts, and I feel like in my opinion at least, the winning formula kind of won out on that trade. But WLS definitely picking to their strengths and picking to the same theme all the way around. We'll have to see what ends up getting picked up for the winning formula in this top lane, and there's no way I just saw a Garen get locked in.
I mean, this champion has been pretty hot ever since Adam managed to pull it off during Worlds, and a lot of people are starting to realize how good it is. My biggest concern for this champion, though, is yes, it is good in lane. It is most likely going to beat out whatever it's matched into, which we'll see here in a couple of seconds, but it falls off heavily toward that late game. Being able to peel that Jinx really is what the winning formula want, making sure that Jinx can get those stacks on her passive is really important. And Garen sort of gets kited and has a tough time being that peel bot. So toward that mid to late game, I expect this champion to be more on that side lane duty with that hull breaker in hand. And it looks like the WLS are actually going to counter it or try to match it with the Urgot. Not sure I like this champion. I feel like this champion is a little bit on the staler side of the meta. I don't think it provides as much value as certain other top laners that are really meta at the moment. And honestly, if Garen is going to go at you, I can see Garen, especially if he brings Ignite into the table, just absolutely dumpstering on this Urgot. And Urgot as a champion doesn't provide a ton of value either toward that mid to late game. Really, the fear beyond death is super situational, easy to dodge, especially in competitive play where you can just cover your bases, make sure that the person who can get pulled in is blocked off, similar to something like a Jin R. So, not sure this champion provides a lot of value on paper, but we'll have to wait and see sort of what the top laner of WLS is thinking.
Yeah, and it's definitely not just the top laner of WLS, right? It's kind of a clashing of ideologies, in my opinion, between these two teams. You see, obviously on the right side of our screens, the winning formula, WLS picking champions that are more in their comfort zone, more akin to each other, right? They're playing very similarly. Lee Sin, Rakan, Zeri, Ari, even Urgot, right? A lot of follow up, a lot of engage potential on that entire side. Just kind of drafting with a certain idea in mind and drafting around their comforts, like we were saying with the Urgot, with stuff like Lee Sin and Ari. But obviously on the other side, you see the winning formula picking very meta champs, right? Jinx super strong in the meta right now. Maokai is kind of a denial champ, I would argue. Graves super strong as well in the meta. Talia, we've been seeing it a ton. Garen as well, like you mentioned, being picked a ton in Worlds, really strong as well in solo queue. So I feel like it's kind of a clash of mentalities when it comes to these two teams, with the winning formula obviously picking what they feel is just strong right now, and WLS going, okay, we're going to pick comfort, we're going to pick what we know how to play, and we think that that'll win us the game.
Absolutely. And I also think that the winning formula have a decent, like you said, they had a really good read on the meta. They're picking very meta champions, but at the same time, there is a lot of denial here for WLS who want to go in, who want to scrap. You know, they have a ton of engage through Lee Sin, Rakan, Ari. Even Zeri is able to follow up on some of those longer engages, potentially through walls or areas you wouldn't find ADCs in, but you have things like the Talia stones that are able to completely negate you and ground you from being able to go in for those fights. Even the smoke screen is a useful tool against things like that. So I am really looking at this mid jungle duo to try and propel their lead early, to try and get priority early and get themselves ahead. Because toward that mid to late game, I think they have the advantage. It's just that early game with that Lee Sin pressure that I'm a little bit worried about, and that could cause problems for the winning formula.
Yeah, and honestly, both of these junglers, Lee Sinners and Birdo, are two players that we've seen definitely ego in the jungle, and these champions are very ego champions. Lee Sin and Graves both known for winning that 1v1 if they're able to outplay, so I wouldn't be surprised
Yep.
if we see them scrapping quite a bit with the backup of the two mid lane roaming champions, Ari and Talia. And I honestly feel like a lot of that focus will be maybe towards that top side with the Garen and Urgot, who are very like, I would say it's a very volatile lane, and obviously the bot side, if you make one screw up and the Zeri gets ahead, or if you make one screw up and the Jinx gets ahead, the game is kind of over. So I feel like
Yeah.
with that in mind, there might be a lot of focus in this top side with honestly the top three on both teams.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you, Drake. I think that there is a lot to consider in this game. Both teams kind of playing this on a razor's edge. I think both of these teams do fall more into the category of snowballing, but you also do have to consider that scaling is going to be a factor in a game no matter what. And if I had to give scaling to any team, I would honestly give it to the winning formula. I just think that Jinx scales
Yeah.
so well once she gets 3 items. Once Graves is able to get 2 items, well, once you have that LDR as well, like you were talking about, we were talking a little bit about Graves before the broadcast even began about how broken Graves has been in the meta since 1320 hit live servers. So those two champions alone are nothing to scoff at. But then there's the Garen, who has the Ignite, as you can see on the screen, who's going to go super aggressive early. I would expect a lot of denial of XP, just a lot of zoning Urgot off of the wave, especially once you get that W, that level 3, and you have that tenacity in tow, and you can see the runes on your screen. Garen going for that phase rush, so is planning to go all in, most likely going to go for that Hullbreaker second item, and I think that that is probably the correct play. I think them going into a 4-1 comp really works when you have things like the smoke screen to sort of disengage in case you are able to, or in case you're not ready to fight a fight that you're prepared for.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, looking at other matchups, you can see Lee Sin and Graves going pretty similar runes, just changing the top one, right? Fleet Footwork and Conqueror, the only difference between their runes. So, well, I guess it does look like there is um,
Yeah.
futures market on the side of Graves, which is a little interesting. Cosmic is usually, or actually Boots, sorry, Magical Footwear is usually more often picked, but generally, I feel like the runes are going to be pretty standard across the board. And I feel like it's not only the runes, it's not only the matchups, it's not only the draft when we look at these two champions, I mean, at these two teams. Before the draft even started and before the game started today, we actually made some predictions, I believe.
Yep.
And a couple of our predictions were obviously based not only on the draft, but they were also based on previous performances, the winning formula, most notably going 5-0 so far this season. WLS doing well as well, right? They've gone 4-1 so far in the season, but I gave it to WLS personally because of just a little bit of a, I would say, bias. But you definitely gave it to the winning formula, and I do think their draft kind of won this game. So we'll obviously have to see how that ends up playing out. Do you wanna fight your fight for the winning formula and why you chose them as the winners?
I mean, yeah, they're undefeated for a reason, right? This is a team that is predicted to be heavily favored as teams are starting to really think about playoffs. And I think that their comp sort of exemplifies it, right? We talked about it. They have a great read on the meta. Their comp seems really, really good. And I overall think that Quality Player and BMW are two players that have shown up. Right. And I think that these champions are harder to pilot, but I also think that, in the right hands in a team like the winning formula who are 5-0, we'll definitely see a bit of skill checking in this game. I wouldn't be surprised, but I do think that PhD and champion picks WLS are capable of taking a game off. They are also 4-1, so they're right behind them. But I think in terms of read and in terms of consistency, you have to give it to the team that's undefeated.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a fair statement. And I also think that there's some validity to that after seeing the draft. We definitely saw a lot more of what we would consider a decent meta read coming out from the winning formula. So we'll obviously have to see how the series plays out. It is a best of three, so we will be seeing at least 2 games today. But as we do get into draft, we will have to figure out our delay situation and obviously get lined up with our spectator. Don't you guys go anywhere. We will be right back after a very short break. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Summoner's Rift. I'm joined by Quacks, and we're about to watch an absolute banger of a series, banger of a game, as you see 5 members of the winning formula running into WS's map already.
Yup, absolutely. And we can see that they are just looking for straight on aggression toward this top side. Getting a little early information on Birdo's red buff, but he is going to see Helper here. I don't think anything is going to really happen here at level 1.
Yeah, surely not. As they do back away, and it looks like Zokuma will still be staying towards that top side, and the information has been gathered. So the winning formula are the winners here. But I mean, we're in for a treat, I think, in these games and in this series today. We were talking about it a little bit off cam, and we were talking about it as much as we could in the draft. But these two teams are both very good. They've been playing super well in the regular season. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely very excited just to see how this game plays out and kind of see how the tone gets set for the remainder of the series.
Yeah, and I think that we can identify the tone of this series a lot in this first game. A lot of teams that do go through these best of threes. I feel that it is real. The first game is really determinant of the sort of mood that both of these teams go for. You know, obviously losing the first game never feels good, so you're on the back foot. And from there, you know, you can go to teams that like to experiment with a few more things, maybe pull out something that the other team is not prepared for, or double down. And I think that both of these teams, because they are so high in the ladder, are willing to adapt. So I'm really curious to see the adaptations throughout the series. And I personally think that this is going to go to 3 games. So I think both teams will have those chances to adapt, have those chances to get sort of those meta picks out of the way, the Jinxes, the Graveses potentially for both teams. And I'm excited to see it because I think that this is going to be one of the best matches we have casted because both of these teams are so high in standing.
Yeah, honestly, I can feel the adrenaline in my veins already, and the game hasn't even really started. We're 2 minutes and 30 seconds in. But I play Lee Sin, you know, I play Graves. I've seen Garen's absolutely ruin my life, and Jinx is broken. So we're already watching an engage in the bot lane. Helper 08 getting a little bit of poke down onto this Rakan. But I mean, when we're talking about junglers, right, we're both jungle mains, and we can focus a little bit on them while the lanes are kind of resident sleeper. But Graves pathing towards that bottom side, Lee Sin pathing top. Skipping his Raptors, actually. A really weird clear path, in my opinion, from this Lee Sin. But yeah. Graves going for that full clear. And obviously jungle items red on the Lee Sin and green on the Graves. How you feeling about all of this information?
I mean, personally, I think that green on the Graves is much better. I think that in terms of even pro play, it offers just so much more consistency, that shield. And while we were looking at the runes, I had to notice that there wasn't an overheal coming out from Lee Sinners. This is an option that I have seen some Graves players go because it does synergize with the green pet pretty nicely and gives you a fat little shield that could be nice for some comps that could engage onto you. And I think it could have been good here from Lee Sinners against a comp with Lee Sin, Ahri, Zeri that likes to go in. But yeah, he did start on that bot side, and it looks like his plan is going to be to potentially wrap around, go straight for his tier 2 camps as soon as he gets that grab, but he is actually beaten out in tempo here as Birdo is deciding to stay and maybe look for something top lane.
Yeah, and it could definitely happen. Garen doesn't have a TP, so if they're able to get the kill, it's quite a punishing death, and Zokuma isn't quite in safety yet, but at least in Q. Birdo doesn't quite land it, doesn't thread the needle, and I mean, I guess you got Garen's flash, so I mean, pretty good at the end of the day, I guess.
Yeah, managing to get Garen's flash is nice because I do believe he has that Nimbus cloak in hand, so a little bit of speed boosted denial there, but Lee Sinners already got a back off, has the Doran's Blade, has the longsword in tow, so has a little bit more time to sort of be on the map while Birdo had to reset and get himself on the map, and it looks like he's using it for top lane pressure here.
Yeah, trying to help Zokuma get that wave, and obviously because Zokuma has burned that flash, he's in quite a bit of danger if Urgot is able to freeze that wave. Nice charm in the mid lane. Random Capital's getting quite a bit of damage down onto quality player. But something I wanted to note was that we did see the Doran's Blade coming out from Graves. Like you said, that early game pressure going to be coming out from him. Oh, actually, Birdo in this bot lane. Solbert finds the engage onto BMW. He has the flash available, but no ghost. He drops the traps, but will he be able to find his way out? He does get to safety for now. Higher Helper is very low. Birdo will not be able to find any follow-up damage. Random Capitals has the ultimate available. The rocks stun her, but she's able to get out of that one. Ahri with a clean kill in the solo lane of mid lane.
Yeah, good kill there from Random Capitals while we were paying attention onto the bot lane. But I do want to highlight there that BMW's traps, the Jinx traps, did so much work in zoning off any potential engage from Birdo. And Solbert had already burned the flash and the W, so he couldn't really make any play after that to sort of lock down the remaining members that they were going for from the winning formula. So just really good zoning there, really good hiding behind the minions, making sure that Lee Sin cannot connect with the Q. And overall, Jinx burns both sums, but they managed to get out with their lives, and the wave is pushing toward them.
Yeah, and I think what's important here is how WLS are able to... Oh, never mind, there's a flash forward in the top lane. The Urgot ultimate's out. Will it be enough for him to find the... He does end up finding it, and it will be a solo bolo in the top side after a solo bolo in the mid lane. WLS absolutely popping off here in game 1.
Yup, good abuse of no flash there from Basting, but it might not be done. Yeah, Basting in trouble.
Surely he doesn't get out of this one. Okay, the flash forward, the W doesn't find it. It's just a terrible flash forward from Quality and a tragedy for TWF.
Yeah, that flash is honestly really punishing. I'm expecting Birdo to go mid now at this point and really try to abuse the Taliyah, because Taliyah is going to have to use that E to push in wave and zone off Ahri from it, so can't necessarily predict that there is going to be a Lee Sin potentially in the bushes waiting to Q. Remember, that ability does have different purposes to it, and you can't always predict all of them. As Birdo potentially caught, actually.
No, it looks like actually Helper is going to be the one who's coming just to lead it, and it's a kill onto the ADC of WLS.
Yup, WLS popping off 3-0 now at this point. They don't have mid prio though, and I think that they know Lee Sinners is in the area, so not going to flip a dragon here, but they could certainly flip a kill onto this Taliyah. The flashless, ultless Taliyah staying in the lane.
Oh, the charm goes wide. Lee Sin does have a little bit of follow-up. Oh, he does end up getting stunned by the rocks. A good W from Quality, but one more Spirit Rush should be enough to do it. The kill is secured by Birdo, and it's another kill going over to the side of WLS.
Feels like a huge oversight there from Quality to stay in the lane when you know for a fact Birdo and Random Capitals are around the area. You don't have flash, you don't have R, you don't have any safety net except for the ones built into your kit, but as we saw, that was not enough. And yeah, WLS just continuing to pick off members of TWF who continuously get caught.
Yeah, so far it is the case of the game. The winning formula don't necessarily have the winning formula here, despite picking what we would consider very meta, but Graves in this top side, Lee Sinner's finding a lot of damage on the QR. I don't think Urgot should be able to find his way out of this one. It will be kill secured for Zokama in this top side.
Yep, Demacia and Justice, the hammer slams down, and they manage to get their first kill of the game. And I think putting it on the Garen is really, really good here for TWF. As like we talked about, this is going to be most likely a side lane threat that keeps Basting on this Urgot in the lane at all times, making sure that he can't get out and constantly has to worry about potentially losing a tower, getting pushed in, losing cryo in that top lane. So he's going to need to deal with Garen throughout the game. That only gets worse as he gets more kills, more resources to himself. So good pickup there from TWF, giving them a little bit more pressure in this game where their backs are against the wall.
Yeah, and I mean, we talk about backs against the wall, but we also talked about in the draft how the winning formula did have a little bit of a later game draft, right? We talked about them not having as much early game potential in these team fights, and I mean, Lee Sin and Ahri doing exactly what we said they would be doing, controlling this early game. And I think what really matters from this point is how WLS are able to transfer that lead into the mid game and eventually into a win if possible. But oh yeah, a lot of pings actually coming down in Face's red buff. He has to just play super safe here. If he walks in, he dies. Do they run into Random Capitals here? It looks like Maokai has spotted them out, but will Helper actually be caught for trying to help? It looks like the Zeri over the wall. Arch trying to find damage, but it won't be a Zeri moment here. Lee Sin has to get over the wall. Solbert might just die for the sins of his teammate, but the ultimate does go slightly wide. The flash forward, the ignite, and they should be able to find the Rakan into the dirt. The flash forward as well from Garen. Where did he come from? A little bit of an Atom roam in this bottom side. Zokama showing up exactly when he was needed.
Yeah, Zokama coming out of nowhere to help secure some kills and help secure a dragon. Good TP there from Quality player to make sure that Bastion cannot get too many plates down. As like we talked about, the Garen does not have TP, so is going to be forced to just stick around there. I wonder how long this sort of lane swap is going to go on for, because Random Capitals is back on the map, so I don't think Garen or Talia want to risk leaving too soon. And as I say that, Talia just resetting, probably to go back to the lane.
Yeah, I'm unsure. Obviously, we'll see. As of right now, yeah, it does look like Talia will be pathing towards that middle lane. But this is exactly what I was talking about right before it happened, right? If WLS are not able to transfer their early lead into the mid game well enough, if they're not able to control the mid game and control objectives early, it could be a case of getting outscaled anyways by TWF, even if they played cleaner and better in this early game to get those kills. And as of right now, you can definitely see it being a punishing moment that they lost that dragon. They can no longer dragon stack. It looks like, surely, yeah, Lee Sinners won't be able to find anything here. But either way, absolutely thriving in this mid game is the winning formula, even though they looked really, really rough earlier on.
Yeah, and I mean, that could be contributed a lot to, you know, potentially being unlucky in the lane. It happens all the time, but seeing that their team play is really where they're flourishing toward that dragon fight, I have a feeling that the mid to late game could potentially be theirs. If they continue to fight like that, I think that there is a chance they get more and more advantages, you know, as they are transitioning a lot of those team fight wins into objectives. Sukuma is in this top area, so I wonder if he is going to see Birdo on this Herald. It looks like he might.
Oh, it's so close. Skirting the vision. He hasn't quite seen Lee Sin. Now he has. He's looking for an engage. Birdo finds the Q. The Q2 comes through, but will Garen just be able to one-shot the Juggler?
Oh my god!
Takes down the Lee Sin. Lee Sinner steals the Rift Herald, and it's absolute tragedy for WLS.
I mean, it felt like Birdo was just going for kind of a desperation objective there. Something to match the Dragon take from earlier, put some pressure and gold into the pockets of your team's carries. But at the end of the day, it was just being out-rotated, and Garen doing so much damage with the Ignite, plus the Demacian Justice. Just able to tear Birdo up. And he didn't have his teammate there to assist him in time. It felt like Urgot and Ahri were a little late to the play. So at the end of the day, it is just Garen versus Lee Sin, and Garen, with that Ignite, just wins all day, every day.
Yeah, and just how unplayable is this for Lee Sin? I mean, he kicks Garen away. Garen buffers the Demacian Justice through the kick. It doesn't matter that you tried to just last-ditch effort push the Garen as far away from you as possible. He still kills you. And this is just an absolute terrible feeling for Birdo. Obviously now a level down on this Graves. Graves will start outpacing him very, very shortly, even though this blue buff is going over maybe to their side. But there might be a little bit of a collapse coming out from the winning formula.
Yeah,
Garen's moving down. Talia's here. Graves is over the wall. The ultimate comes out from Talia. And do Lee Sin and Urgot have enough time to get out of this position? Graves runs into Ahri on the opposite side. It looks like Lee Sin will just get deleted by Zokoma. And Maokai Helper going to help his quality player. Quality player just takes it for himself, though. And Graves winning out on that opposite side does mean that it's just 2 kills going over for free to the winning formula for yet another overextension from WLS.
And now it gives the winning formula a perfect opportunity. Plates dropping soon in about 30 seconds, so it does give Lee Sinners the opportunity to go into this top lane and drop the Herald on the 4-1 Garen. This Garen is going to be such a menace in this mid to late game, has so much gold, so many resources. But I mean, look at the bot lane as well. There's a dive.
Yeah, it does end up going over towards the side of WLS. This is exactly what they needed to do, right? When the enemy team is putting too much pressure in the top side, overloading it, as one might say, you need to overload somewhere else, overload the bot side, find a dive, and obviously if BMW just backed off there, it would have just been nothing. Like, obviously, WLS would have lost out in that trade, but they do end up picking up 1 kill, so kind of getting something back. It looks like they're going to try and convert it to a little bit of vision in this bot side as well. But overall, I would say TWF definitely winning out in that trade.
Yeah, I mean, TWF, they managed to get so many plates into the pocket of Zokoma, and also managed to get more pressure on this top lane. This just makes it so much more difficult for Basting to leave the lane. Once this turret goes down, it only gets worse, I feel, for this Urgot to deal with this Garen. But this Urgot does have the Black Cleaver in tow, is starting to pick up a decent amount of health and tank stats here. And so Garen, you can see that he only has Berserker's Greaves, a Cole, and a Longsword. So this Garen has not backed in a very long time, has not spent the gold he got from all the plates that the Herald managed to get. And yeah, I mean, look at the gold.
3,200.
3K in the pocket. So he honestly might have to be a little bit careful here, as the Fear Beyond Death is available for Basting.
That's
I really don't know if Garen. Yeah, that is a that is just a full item advantage at that. So I really don't think this Garen wins the 1v1.
Yeah, he's still kind of playing rather aggressively. He does end up backing off there. He doesn't have the TP, so it looks like the Dragon will just end up going over towards the side of WLS. They were able to out-tempo TWF for that one, but I think, honestly, the winning formula, very happy with picking up that early Dragon, denying the Dragon stacking, and the potential for a soul point anytime soon. They don't need to fight this one. They just need to scale like we were talking about, and very happy to do so, it looks like, giving that Dragon. Graves and Maokai moving into this bottom side. I don't think that they can find anything onto WLS if they play safely. But overall, I mean, getting a Dragon back is obviously nice. Quality in this top side? What is going on? Zokama has finally backed. He has the Stride Breaker. It looks like the Urgot will just get deleted. Another kill onto this Garen. Zokama is unstoppable.
Yep, Zokama managing to pick up the kill and will be able to push the wave into what is most likely going to be a turret, but Quality Player left the mid lane alone, and now Random Capitals could potentially be looking at that turret.
It's a Q, and it looks like the Zeri's just in the blender. He does end up actually killing the tree on the opposite side. BMW doesn't land the Super Mega Deathlock, and Lee Sin is here to back up his team. The kick, the Q, the kill for Arch. And Lee Sinners might be the next one to go down. The charm doesn't quite land. No more follow-up coming out from Random Capitals. And it looks like the Graves will slink away, but 2 kills going over to the side of WS in this bottom side, finally getting some back for Arch.
Yeah, not only that, but they managed to trade turrets back here from what was taken onto the top side by Zokama. So overall, WLS fighting back there into the bot lane. BMW not being able to get the passive off, meaning he can't really chase Arch and is just caught between 3 members of WLS. So really good micro there, I have to say, from the red team, taking down this Jinx, not giving it a single kill. And yeah, I feel like this Jinx is getting a little bit starved for resources. 0, 2, and 1 has the Kraken Slayer in hand, but a lot of this attention has been paid toward this Garen, toward this top side. And this bot lane has not received a lot of love from this Graves in particular. And it feels like that's really where you want to put the resources now that this Garen is able to roam around the map, now that he does have items, now that he is super fed and has gold in his pocket.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how it plays out, because I think for sure you do have to convert some of your resources towards that ADC role. The meta's a little weird right now, right? You can kind of get away in some games with not feeding the ADC, with the enemy ADC getting ahead, if you have, for example, a very fed Garen that can absolutely one-shot the enemy Zeri, or a very fed Graves that can absolutely one-shot the enemy Zeri. There's other places that can carry in the meta at the moment. It obviously was only ADC for a very long time, but it looks like it's slowly moving back towards multiple lanes can carry, and we'll have to see whether this 4-0 Zeri, 500 gold shutdown on her head, is able to make the side of WLS win the game, or if the opposite idea, Lee Sinners and Zokama getting very ahead, will be able to convert that to a win. Oh, a fight in the bot side? Quality.
The bot side.
He took so much damage. What the heck?
He's just going to walk away, though. But yeah, I definitely agree with your point on the ADC versus the top laner in this match. I think that is going to be a battle of carries. But Arch has so many more resources at his disposal, right? He has so much peel from the Rakan, a lot of peel from the Ahri, the Charm, plus the Mythic, and even a Lee Sin kick is able to get away a Garen. Meanwhile, Garen is going to really struggle, I feel, to get to this backline, really struggles as a champion to get kited. This is something we were talking about in the draft, that this champion sort of falls off toward that mid to late game. We got a potential fight in the bot side here.
Listeners? I mean, he has nothing else to follow up with, right? We saw him use the E. But
yeah.
It was a Spirit Rush out of Random Capitals, obviously a very short cooldown. It is patch 13.20, you know, like we're already in season 13, it was short in season 12, but either way, getting that ultimate down is nice. Now there's not as much pick potential coming out from this Ahri, and Talia can be a little bit safer in that side lane. But nothing really going to come out of that. I would say that obviously this Ahri is getting very, very strong, and that's something that I think the winning formula do have to be careful of. We were talking about how WS are stronger in the mid game, and I'd really like to see them facilitate that as this next dragon is spawning in only 40 seconds time.
Yep, and I feel like both teams are kind of late to clearing vision here. You said that it only has 40 seconds. This Scuttle Crab is still up and available, and a lot of members of WLS are toward this top side. I feel like this is the point where you want to try and zone off the winning formula, make it so that no matter where they walk, they are always seen by some form of vision. But it feels like they are a little bit late to that. In fact, the winning formula is actually all here in the bot side, despite the fact that WLS had the opportunity to clear out all that vision.
Yeah, and somehow WLS still have vision alive. You can see that ward behind the Dragon Pit, so they do actually see where the winning formula are positioning. Urgot does have that TP available, so he can push in that top wave and TP in a little bit later if WLS are looking to fight this one. The wave's a little unfortunate. Zeri has to answer it. And it looks like the winning formula are going to start up the Dragon. They do a lot of damage to it. Helper taking a lot of damage, though, on the front line. Just absolutely deleted. Barely alive, though, and Lee Sin is killed on the back end. Birdo does end up falling, and will the rest of his team follow up shortly afterwards? Lee Sin splashes into the W. Arch gets a kill. Oh my gosh, Arch gets a second kill, a double kill for the Zeri. Will it be a Zeri moment? The first forward from the Recon. Sober does get stunned by the Talia Rocks. Zeri's looking for everything. Arch does end up dying after a triple kill, and it will be a Dragon going over to the winning formula, but a very, very close fight.
Yeah, very close fight, and I feel like it was off the back of Birdo almost getting reverse caught. They thought that they had Helper right in their hands. They thought that they could get the Maokai, but it ended up just being Birdo being baited back into the entire team of the winning formula, and so they had to fight that team fight with basically a jungler down. Not to mention Arch was late to that fight and managed to almost pick up the scraps that his team, left for him. But at the end of the day, was not able to do it. Garen managing to get the kill now, 7-1 and 3 items almost on Zokama, and he is just continuing to be this absolute gigantic juggernaut. Has the Dead Man's Plate as well, so a little bit of tank stats coming in through this Garen, just going to make it harder for Arch to pierce through, as he doesn't yet have the LDR.
Yeah, an absolute monster in this top lane, and now we can definitely see that obviously the shutdown for Zeri did end up going over, but as the players were being in the game, it is a 1,000 gold bounty on this Garen's head. This Garen is absolutely massive, and it really is turning into just Garen versus Zeri in these team fights. And in the last team fight, Garen did win. I can only imagine that it will get a little bit harder for Garen as the game goes on. We were talking about scaling for the side of TWF, sorry. But there is a little bit of scaling for WLS. Zeri does get stronger towards the later stages. And we'll have to see as more items come out. The Storm Razor is very nice for Peel. She is going for the shield bow. I don't know how we feel about that as the item of choice. Oh, Maokai? Sure. Oh no, surely not. Solbert just gets caught and knocked back, tossed into the bouncy castle. Lee Sinner is trying to find some sort of damage onto the backline, but a pick onto Rakan is all you need. Rift Herald is in the mid lane. Shelly, what is going on?
Yeah, Shelly is not supposed to be here. Gets spawned and just probably immediately killed. That honestly has to feel so bad for the Rift Herald. I feel bad for Shelly in that moment. You come back to life after being killed once, just to get killed 2 seconds later, like this Baron, particularly, which looks like it is actually being sought after by the winning formula. But man, that respawn timer has ticked down. The Recon is back up and available. Solbert is respawned. So if you're going for any kind of objective, if you're going for any kind of play, I think that time has passed. A little bit of delay there from the winning formula. I feel like they could have potentially threatened a Baron or potentially threatened a fight, but they just did not pull the trigger in time.
Yeah, a possible missed opportunity. It definitely could have been something that they could have looked for, but it doesn't look like WS are going to punish it in any way by trying to find some sort of objective. Zeri does need to get that back in. And I believe, yeah, that is going to be the shield bow picked up by her. Do you feel like that's the buy? We were going to ask about it before they decided to just start fighting on our screens. But I feel like maybe a little bit more like edging towards the LDR or the Kraken Slayer might have been my preference, but maybe she needs a little bit more safety in this game.
I think the LDR could have worked here. I think that Kraken Slayer is really only viable and valuable when you build it on those first 2 items. I think after the first couple items, Kraken Slayer, you don't usually see it built, but I do think LDR could have been an option. I think that maybe the reason Arch isn't going for it yet is because Garen isn't yet insanely tanky, right? Like, he's not completely unkillable, only has the Dead Man's Plate, which can be burned through, as Lee Sin looks like he is actually going for that Black Cleaver, so there is a little bit of armor shred coming in there through WLS, and Arch can directly benefit from having that Black Cleaver from his jungler.
Yeah, and I guess another way that he can directly benefit is by having that shield, right? And last time we saw him flash in, he almost found a lot of kills, and If he had a shield bow shield, if he had a shield bow healing, he might have been able to pick up the last 2 in that last one. So maybe that's what we're thinking here. But as items start to come through, we want to look for item spikes as well. 1 minute on that dragon. Who's close to item spikes? I'm eyeing up this Talia. We do see Rabadon's Death Cap nearly completed for her. You also see the Garen on the top side nearly finished with that Mortal Reminder. A lot of items nearly coming through for the side of the winning formula. And I would be shaking in my boots if I were WLS.
Yeah, I mean, WLS, they have to try and fight one of these upcoming dragons. We have dragon spawning in less than a minute here, and I think that they have causality to potentially go for this play. Potentially even trade for the Baron. This is something that we've seen a lot in pro play, where a team will go for one objective, and then the other one will threaten the one on the other side of the map. And it sort of leaves split.
He does find Silver, and Silver is... The Leaf is actually killed immediately. Lee Sinner is trying to find damage on the opposite side. Urgot is absolutely shredding him, however. And it does look like, with the Jinx excited, they will be able to move back towards that dragon. It spawns in, I believe, 15 seconds now. So they can move back towards that neutral objective that is pretty much secured now that they have the man advantage. And I don't think WS have any way to respond.
Yeah, good little engage there from Helper to pick off Silver, and even though they have the support, which is probably the least valuable member in cases like this, doesn't have the damage, obviously, it is still enough to get them priority for that dragon. You can see the winning formula just bullying Birdo, making sure that he's not even anywhere near that, but Arch having to expend the cleanse, so we'll have to be careful until that is back up, as Helper does have access to that Hex Slash, can totally repeat what he just did in that mid lane, going for a Flash W. But yeah, Dragon picked up. Now the winning formula are on soul point, so this puts WLS in kind of a predicament here. They have to be really careful until that is up to not give away that Baron buff, which they might actually be going for now that this Garen has shown bot side.
Yeah, Graves showed bot, so they can look for the Baron, but I feel like it's kind of a hasty play. Graves has Yomus, he's on his way, and the Baron isn't taking that much damage. I'm a little bit worried for WLS here. The winning formula, looking for something. Zokama in the front line. He does get charmed. He does get knocked up. But he's kind of the lead. He does end up getting taken down by the Urgot. The flash forward. The fear finds BMW. BMW can't find any way to cruise his way out of this situation for now. But it does look like after he gets taken down, so many members of WLS are low. The Recon falls. Goodness, quality player absolutely popping off. Lee Sinners finds damage onto the backline as well. 2 members of TWF left standing, and Urgot has to slink away.
Yep, he manages to get away, but what a fight from both of these teams. Honestly, Helper going in there, it felt like a little bit of a misplay from the winning formula. Garen going in there, getting immediately picked off was not what you want to see, and that 1,000 gold shutdown finally going over to WLS in the form of giving it over to Urgot, the one player that survived. Yeah, you can see 2,000 gold in the pocket that I am sure he is more than ready and more than willing to spend the moment he gets the chance. But BMW was really left on his lonesome in that on that Jinx in that fight. Just didn't feel like there was any peel coming out from Helper, who was in the backline trying to set up for his other members. This Jinx, despite the fact that you want to get this Jinx ahead, this is the carry champion that we all know to be in 1320. It feels like this Jinx has sort of been the sacrificial lamb in this game. It feels like BMW has been sort of the first casualty of the winning formula to try and win this first game, which is trying to get this Talia and this Graves ahead, along with this Garen, just doing Garen thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult one because you have so many carry potential champions. Obviously, Talia is quite ahead right now. 1,000 gold if she dies, and obviously Garen in this top side has been ahead since the start of the game. And like you were mentioning, Graves is another carry champion. Lee Sin finds himself very low from one combination out of quality player. But it is hard to share all of the resources when you only have a limited amount. Obviously, this Jinx wants as many as she can get, but as of right now, Graves, Talia, Garen, all receiving them on their own. And on the opposite side, you have just pretty much Azeri for the side of WLS, so it's a little bit simpler. They just want to get resources onto her. We'll see which one pans out the better. Urgot finds himself very low in the mid lane already. Maokai ultimate comes out. It does find the Lee Sin, and he gets absolutely deleted. Birdo is down, and it looks like with the jungler deleted, the Baron is on the chopping block for TWF. The winning formula looks into this river.
Yep. the winning formula, just going to go for the Baron, but I don't think WLS are going to let this go quietly. They have so many ultimates to be able to potentially fight this, and I think that with Maokai are down, it sort of evens the playing field, but I am looking at Quality Player's wall.
Ooh,
There it
really
is.
good ultimate, yeah.
Yep, throwing them off.
The Weaver's Wall keeps them off, and the Baron just gets secured, and the winning formula are able to just walk away. They get a free worm in their pocket, they're covered in purple, and they're going back to their base.
Yup, and like you were talking about earlier before the fight started, Drake, really it does feel like WLS are putting all of their eggs in this Zeri basket, a pick that we had previously sort of doubted because it has received a fair amount of nerfs. Honestly, I feel like fair would be putting it lightly. This champion has received a lot of punishment in the last couple of months, to the point where its viability is definitely questionable, but it is one of Arch's signature picks, and we can definitely see why he enjoys this champion so much. His movement is really good, but the question is, are you really going to be able to move around against a Talia, a Maokai, and a Garen, who are all going directly for you? And I feel like WLS, they are trying to peel for this Zeri, but the health bars are just not there. It feels like this Talia is cutting through them like butter at this point, now that he has that Void Staff completed.
Yeah, and 30 seconds on this Infernal Dragon. It is Infernal Soul if the winning formula are able to pick it up, and that seems like a winning formula to me. Baron, Infernal Soul, and a Fed Graves who has a GA. I mean, the jungler doesn't even have the potential to die. Maokai is back, however, so WLS have a small window to be able to find something, but as Helper comes into the jungle, I'm not sure.
Oh no,
Graves?
Lee Sinners.
Lee Sinners could make a misstep here. The GA is available though, so if he dies, it's really not the end of the world. Really good pickup from him, I feel like, at this stage in the game. And gonna walk in with no fear. Talia though, charmed on the opposite side. It looks like the Ahri is trying to find something. Random Capitals should just be dead after the stasis, however. Does actually find her way out of that one. Lee Sinners is the one who's low, but the recovery is deleted, and it looks like a couple more will be there to follow. Helper finds the backline. Arch has to get over the wall, but Jinx is excited, and she finds the kill onto the enemy ADC. Garen finds so much damage onto this Urgot, and Lee Sinners is there to back up his top laner. It's a quadra kill in total for the winning formula, and I think that should be enough of a formula to win them this game.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely don't need to go for the Dragon here. I'm not sure if they can win the game off this. As you can see, Silver is relatively low on the respawn timers, and Birdo is there to fall, but I think that an inhibitor is in order. They could potentially look to take one turret, but I'm not sure they'll be able to end the game. Yeah, looks like they're going to try and take a little bit more.
But they do so much damage. You have to think about Jinx. She has so much attack speed. It's so balanced. And it's the game one going over to the winning formula because Jinx is broken. GG.
My bad. I was not familiar with Jinx's game. I completely forgot how much attack speed that passive manages to give you. But the winning formula off of a pretty convincing win. Had a few hiccups in that early game. I think that goes without saying. That was kind of the point where WLS ruled the game. But after that, they managed to clean their act up pretty significantly. And just like that, they managed to take the game in a pretty convincing fashion. And they certainly showed why they are the top team. They showed why they are undefeated in this league. And I think if they play like that, I'm not a fan of the I'm not a fan of 2-game series, especially with two teams being super far in this league and being this high in standings. But if they play like that again, I can totally see this series going to 2-0, Drake.
Yeah, honestly, the winning formula definitely had a formula there, and it was playing meta. I would like to see WLS kind of develop on their drafting, maybe not pick Zeri in the bot lane. I mean, the thing is, right, Arch popped off that game, right? We were talking about it earlier on. His movement, insane. At the end of the game, in the final screen, 8-3 is a crazy scoreline for your ADC. It's also a crazy scoreline for you to lose with, and I think that tells you something about the champion that you drafted. And I feel like that's something that they should address moving on in this draft. Obviously, we'll see. Maybe we're wrong. We're just lonely casters, you know. We don't know what the gamers are thinking. But maybe ban Jinx, maybe ban Graves, or obviously they might have blue side in this next game. So there might be a little bit of draft development between these two teams. But so many problems on the side of the winning formula. I'm not sure what you address while still only using 3 bans.
Yeah, I mean, the winning formula, TWF, they really played the meta completely correct. Graves, Jinx, Garen, these are all champions that are heavily sought after, even just in solo queue, right? And it feels like it was a kind of a question of comfort versus meta. Obviously, there are some meta picks on display here on red side. You have the Ari, you have the Lee Sin, you have the Rakan. But yeah, I just felt like there was nothing they could do for Arch in the game. It felt like this Zeri, the moment it got breathed on, was not able to play the game. So I am definitely looking for them in game two to really look to give Arch more of these meta carry ADCs like the Jinx. I would not be surprised if that is banned in the next game by the red side. But there are other options, right? You could see there was a lot of ADC bans. The Ashe, the Xayah, both taken away. The Tristana taken away. That is a flex pick. Even something like the Ziggs, which is also a flex pick, was taken away. So it seems like bot lane is the focal point of this series. But it feels like there wasn't a lot of attention from either team toward that side of the game in this first one.
Yeah, and I feel like the attention isn't even entirely towards that bot lane. I would like to draw attention towards the jungle matchup
Yeah.
as well. I feel like Birdo and Lee Sinner's both very prominent Graves, like carry champion players. Both of these players love just egoing on an enemy jungler and playing something that farms and gets super strong. And Lee Sin just isn't that in the meta right now. He's just not as strong. Something that you hear a lot when discussions about the meta are being held, right, at the moment at least, is that AD champs in the jungle are just really bad. Like they
Yep.
just aren't good, and the only few that are like Graves and maybe like Kindred or a couple of other outliers. And I feel like looking towards that jungle matchup, maybe first picking the Graves while you're on blue side, because I would hope that WLS end up edging towards that side in the second game, or something else, some other form of development. But I feel like Graves is another champion that should be sought after, and that jungle matchup should change a bit. But obviously, we won't know until we get into game two. I think we're going to go to a short break before we get into that draft and into that game. But I've been Drake. This has been Quacks. And yeah, this has been Dominate Week 7. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be back very shortly for game two. Hello, everybody. My name is Drake, and I'm joined by Quax, and we're back with Week 7 of the Dominate regular season, the last week of the regular season here at Risen Dominate. Quax, how are we feeling after Game 1?
Good. I definitely think that the winning formula proved to everyone why they are the current undefeated team in their respective division. And curiously enough, after that loss, WLS actually decided to opt for red sides. So we're keeping the sides from game one. And we talked a little bit, post game, Drake, about how important it is to get some of those meta picks, especially in the ADC role, things like the Jinx. So I have to imagine that WLS are probably going to adapt and think that they need to ban that away, maybe ban away the Garen as well. You can already tell that Garen, I'm sorry, the Graves, I don't mean to say Garen. You can see that Hecarim is taken away from TWF, who are in turn banning away ADCs, making sure that Arch's champ pool is also a little bit pinched. And yeah, I think that we are going to see a heavy emphasis on both ADCs and junglers in this game, as is reflected by the bans.
And it's crazy that honestly the bands haven't adapted yet. I would like to see some
Yeah.
sort of adaptation between these two teams. Obviously, the winning formula has the winning formula technically, right? Like they won draft last game and they won the game, so they can stick with what they know. They banned the Maokai this iteration, obviously, maybe not wanting to trade that over after picking whatever they pick in the first pick. But it will be the exact same three bans coming out from the WLS side. So I'm curious to see how the winning formula maybe change up what they have planned. Obviously, they might be a little bit afraid that WLS have
Ooh.
stuck with the same stuff. J4 is an iteration that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, J4 locked in here for the winning formula. This is a champion that still has a lot of value. I would say lesser so, because we talked a little bit about it, Drake, that AD champions are a little bit less valued. But, I mean, Jarvan's setup is immaculate, right? This champion still has incredibly low cooldowns, is able to set up the team really, really well. So now I am looking for, champions in that bot lane, in that mid lane that really pair well with Jarvan, are really able to capitalize off of that flag and drag. And on the other side, we have WLS running it back. Ari given over to PhD in mid lane, and Graves this time given over to WLS. So there is that adaptation coming through from both of these teams. Jinx is still up and available, so I have to think that this is going to be picked. No way it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, and I'm honestly terrified that Graves did end up getting picked up by Birdo because this honestly, like me being a Graves player and just seeing how broken this champion is at the moment, it could be honestly a game deciding pick. Obviously, Jinx does end up getting picked up by the side of the TWF, but me personally, if I'm playing Graves, I don't mind Jinx being on the enemy team because I can absolutely one-shot her, I can outpace her, I
Hmm.
can just literally 1v1 her to death in the middle of a team fight, and Jarvan isn't going to stop me. I have an Ahri to back me up at the moment, right? Zyra's an interesting one. She does make it very hard to play the game for Ahri and for Graves. Obviously, dropping those plants, you can't auto through them, you can't charm through them, but it will be that Thresh picked up and a lot of safety provided to this Jinx.
Yep, a little bit of a fake out. I mean, Jinx Thresh is an iconic lane. This lane is looking to go aggressive, looking to snowball. So I expect Jarvan to really hammer home on that bot lane. Now, my question is, we talked about it a lot in game one. How many strong side champions the winning formula had drafted for themselves in that first game? And so I am kind of looking specifically at Zakama and Quality Player to be sort of facilitators for this team, for this Jinx. Maybe could see a little bit of damage coming out from Quality Player, but I think that a tank would really do wonders. Something like an Ornn maybe here in the top lane as the bans do come through. Alistar, by the way, was the last pickup for WLS, so similar aggression most likely going to come in through the bot lane. Zeri is still open and available. I have to imagine TWF with Arch not picking up any champion are going to pincer his champ pool even more.
Yeah, and honestly, a really interesting draft coming out from both sides so far in game two, right? We see a mid laner unanswered picked for the side of WLS. We also see support with no ADC picked for WLS. So obviously, you will see those ADC bans coming out from TWF. They don't want to play against that Zeri again. They said, you know what, it was strong last game. Obviously, it wasn't maybe the most meta pick, but it did still get quite a few kills. So they don't want to see that again. Talia is banned away by WLS, and I think that's really smart. Very good into Ari, very good into stuff like the Southstar and the Graves. But it will be the
Yeah.
Kaisa also banned from TWF, and I'm not sure how many more options WLS have for that ADC pick.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested to see what exactly WLS are going to give to
There's no way.
Arch. And it could be a Twitch, it could be a Vayne. There are still some available options. I'm not sure I like the Ezreal here,
I'm getting
but
BDS
it is
vibes.
yeah, it is certainly an option, but I feel like Ezreal recently in competitive play has not been super great unless you're an absolute menace on the champion, but it is going to be locked in. TWF, now it is up to them to respond. There is no way you pick up a Zed. I honestly think something like a Cassiopeia here would be really good. It's good into Ahri. It's good at preventing engages from the Alistar. Good at making sure that Ezreal can't get away with that arcane shift. But it is going to be just a ton of picks. They're putting us on the
I like
edge of our
Syndra. I like
here.
Syndra. I like
Yep,
Syndra. Yeah,
yep.
I like
Syndra,
Syndra.
Syndra picked up here for TWF and quality player. Again, I feel like Cassiopeia could have been really good here, but Syndra is definitely a champion that you have to watch out for, especially toward that mid to late game. Those splinters are nothing to joke over.
Yeah, they definitely aren't, and I feel like Syndra has been very strong in the meta at the moment. Super broken champion in solo queue even. So picking that up, obviously there is not going to be an Orianna response. The Ahri has already been picked, so they know what lane they're playing it into, and I feel like Syndra does thrive in that lane. Teemo is just a troll hover, but Aatrox is not a troll pick. That's an interesting pick, I think, coming out from the winning formula. It's a comfort pick for Zokama, but we have seen it only picked a few times in Worlds, in obviously the only pro play that we can all be watching at the moment that isn't like semi-pro or slightly below that. So Aatrox hasn't really seen that much success, but a comfort pick nonetheless. And Poppy is a pretty good response, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, Poppy is good at denying some of that engage that the winning formula have drafted for themselves, but I'm a little bit worried about the damage profile that WLS have drafted for themselves, especially toward this early game. And that was the phase of game one where we saw them be the most active, right? They got a ton of kills toward that early game in game one and really set the winning formula on the back foot. But this game, it feels like it is almost the opposite here, making sure that Graves can get to 2 items, making sure Ezreal can scale up, making sure Ahri can scale up, and really prioritizing team play instead of lane. So a little bit of shift in play style, I feel, coming in here through WLS. Meanwhile, the winning formula again, playing toward meta, playing champions that are really strong in competitive play. And I think if they're able to execute on those champions, if they are able to execute on the team play that they showed in game one, they could totally come out on top in this game too.
And I mean, it's a high stakes game, right? It's the last series before we, well, it's at least these two teams' last series before they move on to the brackets, right? Before they're done with their regular season. This is obviously the last week of Dominate Fall season, regular season, sorry. And honestly, if the winning formula win one more game, right, it is WLS with their backs against the wall, and this is what they drafted. So we have to trust them with it, right? I mean, maybe they are saving a
Yep.
couple of their cards to be played when they are into the playoffs brackets, right? Because then it is kind of single elimination. It is a little bit more important to bring stuff out of the woodwork that you haven't shown yet. And they are pretty safe sitting at 4-1. They would be at 4-2 if they lose this series, right? But the winning formula, sticking to their guns, if they win this series, it will be 6-0 so far in the regular season, which I was gonna say doesn't add up for 7 weeks, but they all had an off week, so it does add up. But it's a lot of stakes, right? The winning formula have what they have, right? They've drafted once again with the meta. It's worked every week before this, so you have to trust them.
Yep.
And it is WLS. It is up to WLS to be able to crack down the Goliath, to be David, and to bring down this giant that is the winning formula in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I share that same sentiment. I think that WLS are really going to have to take initiative in this game, which is why the comp again kind of worries me here. I just feel like this early game is you're really conceding a lot. I can't imagine that this team is going to be the one that wants to go for those first dragons, that wants to go for those first heralds. It feels like the damage profile on TWF is just so much higher, and also feels like they have a lot of scaling advantage with that Syndra as well. And I think it really is going to be off the back of Arch and off of Birdo, making sure that they are the carries and making sure that the rest of their team is playing around them. I'm really looking at Basting on this Poppy to sort of roam around. We saw some roams come from the top laner last game. Zokama going down at some points. And I'm really looking at Basting to do the same, assist his team in deep vision, assist his team in some of these dragon fights that if they want to take them, they have to make sure they have a numbers advantage because early on, if they're fighting at even turf, you give this Jinx one kill, and we all know what happens from there.
Yeah, it could get out of hand rather quickly. The Syndra is another champion that we've seen get absolutely, well, I would say it's kind of unplayable against if she does get ahead. The ultimate does absolutely one-shot people. The QE can be from literally Narnia. You can just get stunned from so far away. The follow-up obviously is there for J4, for Thresh hooks, for even Aatrox EQs if they are playing as a team. And I do feel like it is up to the peel from the side of WS if they're able to keep their carries alive. Graves is one of those champions that can have a really hard time moving around if there are things like the Scout of the Week, like the J4 EQ into the R, right, or the Thresh Flay. Like there's just so many things for you to have to dodge. And Birdo does have to get pretty much into melee range to be able to do those auto attacks. So it will be up to how good the peel is for either side, I feel like. And a lot of those looks will be towards, like we were talking about, this top side, where it does look like Poppy did opt for the grasp. And I feel like this isn't what you would naturally think, right? Because Aatrox is such an aggressive laner. But I do feel like Poppy is going to hard win this lane.
Yeah, I mean Poppy is probably one of the most hidden lane bullies in the game. If you're good at her, if you're good at spacing, this champion is like kind of like a Shen, where a lot of people think that it has uses in team fights, and while it certainly does have uses in team fights, it has a deceptively strong early game that you have to be careful of. And so I'm looking at those levels 1 through 3 for this Poppy to really, really solidify dominance in the lane. And yeah, just as we're moving through the routes here, futures market picked up from the Jarvan. My biggest question is Jarvan actually going to go for the D Blade? It is an option, as most AD junglers are opting for the D Blade on that first back. But Jarvan isn't really going to make use of it, especially toward that mid to late game where he is more or less just going to be a CC knock up a Cataclysm bot. And yeah, nothing too strange coming out from the runes here. Summon area picked up from the Syndra, both ADCs taking their respective keystones. Jinx obviously with that lethal tempo, Ezreal obviously with that conquer, and nothing too crazy is to be had here. And I think it is just going to come down to execution, Drake.
Yeah, I definitely think it will, and even looking at these, the support in the support role as well, I feel like maybe something we can note is that WLS have opted for a no cookie lane. They are boycotting cookies. They are on a diet. But obviously on the opposite side, the winning formula have opted for cookies on both their support and their ADC. So maybe a little bit more sustain coming out from the winning formula, a little bit more time on the map. And I think that is obviously due to the nature of you have a J4 on your team, right? You have a Syndra who should be getting shoved over Ari in the early stages on your team as well. So they are going to be looking for early action. They are going to be looking to fight. And obviously, even if they lose those poke trades, they will be healing up a little bit more than the other side.
Yep, and TPs coming out across the board, so I expect a lot of cross-map plays, especially when those TPs become unleashed. And we were talking about it, bot lane being super important for both of these teams, so I expect once the solo laners have access to that unleashed TP, once 10 minutes drops, they are going to go directly for that bot lane. They're going to look for flank TPs, and so I'm looking at those bushes to really keep an eye out for some of those wards that can be TP'd to. So we'll have to wait and see what both of these teams are thinking. Again, TWF are up one more game. If they win this one, they are the undefeated team in the Risen Dominant League, and WLS backs against the wall are looking to upset them, but it all starts with one game. So we are going to take a small little break, Drake and I, while we wait for the spectator delay to catch up to us. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more TWF versus WLS. See you soon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Week 7 of the Dominate Fall season. I'm once again Drake, joined by Quacks, and we are here for the second game between the Winning Formula and WLS. They're all on the same sides, so you don't have to worry about figuring out which team is on which side. And Quacks, how excited are we here for Game 2, the deciding game, honestly, for this series?
Yeah, I think that this game has a lot of potential to be really, really good. I think that WLS are looking for, an upset. They are the team that is relatively unfavored at this point in the game now that TWF have a game over them. So I am looking at them to use some of these guerrilla tactics potentially. We've seen this sometimes with LCK teams when their backs are against the wall, they go for some cheese plays, they go for some early, potential vision or some early potential looks. But it doesn't look like any of that is coming out from WLS as they are just defending their jungle, making sure that nothing gets past their line of scrimmage and just starting in the bot lane. So yeah, both junglers mirroring each other's pathing, going to opposite lanes. And I have to wonder why Birdo starting on the bot lane. Maybe he is looking to do the same pathing he did last game where he went to red, Krugs, and then blue, or I think it was actually blue. It was
Red.
actually blue, wolves, and then red or something like that. And then
It was weird. It was blue gromp red, yeah.
yeah. Then you path back and try to visit the bot lane. It seems like a little bit suboptimal, especially because Jarvan is going to be in that. Jarvan wants to get out on the map early, so I would expect Graves to be there to try and counter jungle and stay on the bot lane as long as possible. But we'll have to wait and see sort of how it pans out.
Yeah, and obviously it's kind of a weird one. It depends on what game you're playing, right? What jungler you're playing against, and if you feel like this J4 is going to invade you, if he's going to threaten your red buff, then I guess going there really quickly is a good idea. But it does look like he's going to opt to just full clear this time, obviously on a very different champion from Lee Sin. And J4 full clearing as well. Already getting a really deep ward, though. Looks like Random Capital is just trying to spot out the J4, gets a ward onto the Raptors, and will be able to spot out the clear from Lee Sinners. But in this top side, a lot of damage coming up from these two top laners. I wouldn't want to assume that either of them are going to die anytime soon, both dinging level 3 very, very shortly. But yeah, the pathing from these junglers is very, very interesting in the early stages. And we'll have to see, obviously, whether it pans out to a couple of kills for either of them, or I would assume if they both farm, if they both get 28 CS in this early game, Graves is probably coming out on top of that trade.
Yeah, but I mean, Graves did skip out on those Raptors, so is going to be a little bit delayed behind Jarvan, which is honestly not super great for the Graves. You're a champion that does excel in being able to full clear, and Jarvan, again, wants to get out on the map early, so giving him the opportunity to get 28 CS before you and having his camp sequence in a way that he can just recall and go through it all over again is a lot more beneficial to him, and it feels like it is going to be a struggle for Birdo. It feels like he's already a little bit behind in tempo. But he is on this top side. I think he knows he can't go for this bottom crab with the bot lane state that it's in. So yeah, just handshaking the crabs. Ooh.
Crazy hook coming out from Helper. It does look like the EOA will be safety for Arch, but they aren't the ones with the cookies, so we'll obviously see if he's able to heal up enough to stay in lane. But a really good trade coming out from Helper with that Thresh hook.
Yup, hook from Narnia, and I'm expecting Helper to be kind of on the lookout for many more of those, just zoning Arch out of the wave, because it really gets tough for this bot lane of the winning formula once that Unbreakable Will comes through on the Alistar. 2v2 becomes significantly more difficult because he's so difficult to kill, has that extra bit of tenacity. So before then, I really want to see this Thresh try and be bully of the lane, try and potentially look for these hooks like that one, and just continue pressuring Arch out of potential CS and potential experience.
Yeah, and a really good read coming out from Zokama in that top side. I'm not sure who actually dropped the ping, but we did see a danger ping in that top side on the Graves, who's just sitting in a bush off vision. So a really good read coming out from somebody on the side of TWF, knowing that Graves is in that top side, that Aatrox shouldn't be pushing up just quite yet, but he'll now be able to find that shove in very safely. And that does mean that he should be able to get quite a good reset. Obviously, Poppy going to have to farm under her turret. Just really good play coming out overall from the winning formula to be so safe in this early game when obviously you don't want a Graves to get ahead. You don't want an Ahri to get ahead. And this safety will save them in the mid game.
Yup, and Zokama managing to get a pretty clean back here on the Aatrox. Doesn't even need to use the teleport which is really valuable, right? Being able to have that teleport potentially until that 10-minute mark is good for some of those cross-map plays that you are going to want to make. We talked a lot about emphasis on the Dragon, and there you go, WLS going directly on the Dragon. Doesn't look like there's going to be any contest given that both the lanes are pushed in on TWF's side, but they are going to be spotted out. But there isn't
Helper?
a lot to do about it. Helper?
Yeah, a little aggressive with that face check, but it looks like Random Capitals is the one who gets taken down, absolutely deleted by Syndra. And Lee Sinner's looking for a little bit more. Solbert might be the next target for the team of the winning formula. They do look for Solbert, but a lot of damage actually coming out. Helper and Quality Player have to back away as Lee Sinner says no HP. Art, surely you aren't able to find anything here. Helper does get taken a little bit lower. Berto looking for something on the re-engage. They do have vision on the remaining members of the winning formula, but Berto will once again start up this Hextech Dragon, and it should be secured this time due to the Poppy roaming down and a really good TP coming out from QR to move back towards the top side after covering that Dragon fight. But a kill going over to the side of the winning formula.
Yep, the winning formula, they managed to pick up a kill onto Random Capital, but also really good there from WLS to sort of diffuse the situation into their advantage. They managed to pick up a Hextech Dragon as their little constellation prize. So all in all, definitely could have been worse for WLS, and they sort of even out the trade by getting the Hextech Dragon. But yeah, that is gold going into Quality Player's pocket, and Random Capital already taken very, very low. Takes a turret shot even there. Doesn't have the flash available, and I am definitely looking at Lee Sinners to regank this mid lane and potentially get the Syndra further and further ahead.
It is very hard though, because obviously the Ahri does have the Spirit Rush, so even if you land a good EQ into Cataclysm, into even a Scout of the Week that is stacked on top of all two of those abilities, she is kind of just able to ult out of the situation without using her flash. So even though she is down a flash, she has so much mobility that it is hard. Obviously, if Thresh moves, maybe you can make something happen, a little bit of magic. But I feel like the target should be somewhere else. Maybe we can move towards this bottom lane or towards the top side with that Rift Herald spawning. I feel like neutral objectives should be the target of the winning formula, or at least denial of those. BMW in a little bit of a predicament. He has to... Oh, he's being zoned off of this wave. Helper not being there is definitely not helping this ADC, as we were talking about how Jinx is the better ADC at the moment, but Arch definitely getting quite a lead in this bottom side.
Yup, all of this experience, all of this gold is just being flushed down the drain for this Jinx. So it is going to be set significantly far behind there. And honestly, I have to question what Helper's plan there was roaming to the mid lane. They may have looked for something onto Random Capitals, but you lose a lot of value on that Jinx now. Being denied so much experience, but
the J4 here, Lee Sinners finds the Cataclysm, and you can only ult one away. The Poppy's stuck in the Cataclysm with the J4. Lee Sinners actually stunned against the wall. Will he be able to find enough damage under the turret? No, he will not. He has to walk away, and it looks like Ahri and Graves here to collapse. Random Capitals has the Spirit Rush available, and I'm not sure Aatrox can just fight this. They do actually end up one-shotting the Ahri. The Poppy's dead too. The healing from Zokama. And will Berto be able to find anything off the back? He can't attack. There's an Aatrox in the way. Graves there's a double kill for Zokama.
Zokama popping up in the play. 3-for-0 for the winning formula. And yeah, they just were not coordinated on that engage. They came in one at a time. Helper managing to get a hook as well. Solbert, you are not level 6, my friend. He's taking a lot of punish.
Yeah, he's taking quite a bit of damage. He's able to barely walk his way out of that one. The Ignite nearly ticking down enough to kill him. And Jinx not having enough mana for the Super Mega Death Rocket, shouldn't be able to find the kill. But the Syndra can. It looks like Quality Players down in this bot side finds the kill on the Alistar. The Super Mega Death Rocket is there now, and it will be 2 more kills going over to the side of the winning formula. An absolutely dominant performance in Game 2.
And they even got the Herald. The winning formula are looking dominant in this game. And honestly, WLS They are down 4k gold in less than 10 minutes. That is an absolutely gargantuan gold lead here for the blue side. And now it really is up to them to sort of just continue squeezing WLS out of this game as the game goes on. You can see a little bit of coverage in that top lane. Zokuma making his way back up toward the lane, has the Gore Drinker in hand as well. The items are really starting to come out from the winning formula, and I'm really expecting them to go for this next dragon, deny any sort of soul shenanigans away from WLS with this item advantage in hand.
Yeah, and it's definitely a case of, obviously it's not terrible scaling on the side of the winning formula, but I would say that they are on a little bit of a timer in comparison to WLS. Not massively, right? But I do feel like J4 falls off quite a bit. Aatrox starts not doing damage to Poppy at some point, and Quality Player will be spiking in that middle game with the Jinx. So, Zokuma, are you just gonna one-shot the Poppy here? Surely this isn't a solo kill, right? Oh my goodness,
Oh
the
my
Poppy got
God.
so low. The Q3 doesn't quite do enough damage, and if Poppy stays in this lane, I'm honestly worried about her health. And I'm not talking about the health like on my screen. I'm talking about, does she live here? Oh, she pops 9. She actually knocks off the Aatrox and pops him into the... yeah, it's not enough damage. The Aatrox is healing. I mean,
it looked cool. It looked cool for a moment, but then he just got hit with a gigantic sword, and yeah, that was the end of that. I respect Basting for looking for something, but yeah, you cannot stay there, especially with the Gore Drinker and the lifesteal from the Doran's Blade being so valuable at this point in the game. And now the Dragon is up, right? Dragon has officially spawned.
No.
Oh, helper.
Okay, but actually in the mid lane, Quality has to flash away. Random Capitals finds the charm with the Spirit Rush. It is a little bit of damage coming out from Birdo. The auto of the R, it is not enough to find the kill, and Quality Player just walks it out of that one. Not unscathed, but alive.
Yeah, I mean, he manages to get out of that one. I feel like a little bit of misplay in terms of position on that Cinder. He walked back for a little bit. Dragon secured for the winning formula, but there's a potential bot fight here.
Yeah, the winning formula are trying to win this one. It looks like Soulbert will just go down. It is a kill, sadly over to Helper, but either way, the Jinx got excited. It is a free kill, ultimately, for the winning formula. They got the Dragon. They're dropping the Rift Herald pre-14 minutes in this bottom side. So much gold fluctuated into this Jinx, and it is just a winning formula coming out from the side of TWF.
Yeah, I mean, TWF, they give the gold over to BMW, importantly, as well. This Jinx has been kind of the player, BMW in particular, has been kind of the player that has been suffering the most in this series, just making sure that WLS can get Arch ahead, and they have been putting a lot of pressure on bot side to do so. As a result, BMW has been bullied out, so giving them back some gold is really nicely. It sort of ties up any kind of losing lanes, and now I think TWF are just looking to close this game out. Birdo, goodbye, Birdo. Yeah, he's just dead.
You know, I do this on Graves a lot. Like, I swear that is my most died in position. But it looks really bad when you're spectating it in third person. Probably didn't need to be on that blue buff. Obviously, WLS are in a position where they are just losing out everywhere on the map right now. 9 kills to 0 is not something to scoff at. 7,000 gold lead towards the advantage of the winning formula. It is very dire straits for the side of WLS right now. And I'm not sure how long they have to wait until it gets better. Obviously, their base isn't fully cracked quite yet. Poppy... Okay, Poppy isn't quite killed. Did get knocked out of her ultimate for a second. But it's just so hard to play from this position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're just getting constantly bullied. I mean, look at this. Like, what are you going to do? He flashes away. Will live to fight another day, but his entire team is here to just make sure he survives. Burning a TP as well. That's a valuable cooldown. And yeah, now it just feels like WLS are trying at any point to just save their teammates from the lead that the winning formula have acquired.
Yeah, and obviously that's not where you want to be in these games. You don't want to be on the back foot just playing responsibly. You want to play proactively to be able to find some picks, to be able to find advantages and objective leads. But when you're this far behind, it's really, really hard to play proactively, especially when you're focusing so much on playing defensively.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, Zokuma just proxying between the towers giving this Poppy such a difficult time. And now I really think it is just a question of waiting. Can the winning formula keep their lead, and can they be patient without looking for any sort of unnecessary plays until these objectives sort of just come to them so that they can end the game? We're 15 minutes into the game at this point. There's no real way for the winning formula to win, but if they just be patient and wait for everything to come to them, I think that this game will end pretty darn quickly at this pace.
Yeah, and I feel like that patience definitely goes both ways for either of these teams at the moment. The winning formula obviously want to be patient and not overextend, but WLS are waiting for just that. They're waiting for an overextension. If they play too aggressively, if they keep playing into the hands of the winning formula don't even have to make a mistake, right? But if WLS are able to dial things back, just play safe, farm up, obviously, like, you hear this stuff in solo queue and you get triggered when somebody tells you to play safe and farm up, but that's actually what WLS need to be doing right now. And if they do so and they end up capitalizing on a mistake from TWF while doing that, then they can find their way back into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a way for them to find, you know, something out of this game. Obviously, objective bounties have spawned up for them, so if they manage to get a tower, manage to get a dragon even potentially, I think that that could do wonders for WLS at this point in the game. But you can see TWF are just going for the objectives as they spawn, Herald spawning and immediately being taken away by Lee Sinners, and there's not a lot that WLS are willing to do here. They're grouping up in mid lane to maybe threaten some play or pick, but it is just going to be disengaged. And TWF just having a beautiful read here in this game too of what WLS want to do. Their desperation is really starting to show.
It definitely is, and I mean, it's not only because of the game state. Oh, wait, Jinx is getting flashed upon. It looks like it might be a pit. Arch gets the kill with Birdo. Birdo steals the kill away. Actually, Lee Sinners ends up falling to Ari on the opposite side. Renin Capitals finds his way out, and it is going to be 2 kills going over to the side of WLS, and they should be able to secure a Drake off the back of it.
Yep, they managed to find 2, and they're just waiting for the dragon to spawn. 20 seconds left on the dragon. But now TWF have to be careful. They don't have a lot of vision here, and I don't think they're strong enough to win a 3v5, so they have to be really careful of where they step, but they might have found Soulbird, actually.
Oh, but Birdo's here to find a little bit of damage on the Aatrox, but he's healing so much, but not enough at the moment. Poppy finds the shutdown onto the Aatrox and should be able to walk her way out of that one, and it is now 5v4 on the map. Jinx and J4 are getting back onto the map rather quickly. I'm not sure how this will play out for WLS. If they are able to burst down the dragon, they will be able to make it out alive. J4's in the pit. Lee Sinners is full HP against 2 half HP members, but he's CC'd. He can't get away from the Poppy. The Cataclysm goes down. Birdo and Arch free firing onto the J4. He does end up going down, but the Jinx is excited. She gets a kill. She gets a second. She looks for more. Random Capitals has to get away somehow, and the dragon is no longer available for WLS.
I mean, yeah, WLS, it felt like the fight had just gone on too long. 2 members of TWF had respawned, one of which was the jungler, the other of which was the Jinx, who managed to find a reset instantly just because the health bars of WLS were so unbelievably low. But that Jarvan played it really well, was sort of caught in the pit by himself and managed to make it right, using the Cataclysm to get away from the Poppy R because he is unstoppable during that movement. And just buying some time for the rest of his team to get some damage off onto the remaining members. And yeah, now they managed to find a second dragon. BMW now 3-1-2 on this Jinx, starting to beef up.
Yeah, and starting to beef up is an understatement. This Jinx is now very, very ahead. Nearly, I would say, an item ahead of this Ezreal. Yeah, what is going on? Soulbert fighting for any vision that he can, but walking away with none. Oh well, I guess. But yeah, 2,500 gold in the lead is this Jinx over the Ezreal. Insurmountable amount of gold, in my opinion. This is only going to scale into more and more as the game goes on, obviously. And if the fights go anywhere near what they did previously, WLS will find themselves in a little bit of a sticky situation. A single reset just means that BMW is able to absolutely pop off in these team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if BMW is left to his lonesome, if he's able to proc that lethal tempo, these fights are over before they even begin. And there's so much peel coming off the side of the winning formula. They have Flag and Drag, they have Scout of the Week, they have 3 knockups on the side of Aatrox, and these are just the carry champions, not to mention the support. So getting to this Jinx is really going to be the goal of WLS. And I mean, we've seen it before with certain flanks. I think if they can repeat that same success, they can maybe look to get more leads off in a more timely manner than that last fight.
Yeah, a Jinx Rocket does find Birdo, but Birdo is able to get away from the J4. And
Herald's not charging.
Oh, yeah, it looks like Graves is barely able to make it away with his life. Lee Sinners ends up dropping, and it is one member down on either side for now, and members run away. Okay, we'll just be a 1-for-1 across the map. Obviously, we didn't see the Ezreal go down, I think, in the mid lane, but it is a 1-for-1 in the end, and ideally, TWF wouldn't like to trade 1-for-1, so WLS coming out on top, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, WLS, they managed to trade 1-for-1. They're behind, so naturally they get more of an advantage there. But however, there has been a turret taken in the top lane and more pressure just being exerted in the mid lane. Crucially enough, though, I want to go back to that last fight. The Herald just hitting the minions, not able to charge, really, I feel, messed with TWF's plan. If they had managed to get that Herald to charge, it would have canceled the RETP, and they would have fought with more of a numbers advantage. And probably win that fight 1-for-0 instead of, you know, trading 1-for-1, having a man down in that fight. But yeah, just a little note there, I think, was the Herald not charging right away, giving this Ahri a chance to enter in.
Yeah, it definitely was a factor, and I feel like something else we can draw from that fight is the survivability of that Graves. He's not going the build that I expected. I didn't notice until I noticed how long he actually lived in that fight. He's going Gore Drinker. He's not going the Yomu's build that we were talking about in the last game. Obviously still has that Dirk for the early game prowess, but moving into Gore Drinker, probably going to be building that Black Cleaver next. A little bit of a different iteration coming out from Birdo, and I'm not sure if that's due to the 3 melee champions on the side of TWF, but it's definitely interesting to see in this game.
I think that it is more so to do with the fact that the carries of Syndra and Jinx heavily outrange Jarvan. As hold that thought, actually. Poppy?
Poppy, she can't move. She's in the bouncy castle and she is dead.
Oh my
Zokama
God.
just literally right clicking her. She didn't move. She didn't have the ability to move. He just had to right click.
Yup, and so the winning formula continuing to blitz ahead in this game. Now 7k gold up. Baron has officially spawned as of about 2 minutes ago. So now I am really just looking at TWF to pick off Birdo.
No way, so much damage.
Came early.
But no more follow-up is available. Birdo is able to move away, but Lee Sinner's over the wall. The Cataclysm, just to be safe, the EQ should be there to follow up. And it is indeed the knock-up, the CC, and it is a pick-up for quality player onto this Graves, and it should be a Baron started up for the side of the winning formula.
Yup, no Graves available. True Shot Barrage also not available for Arch, so they don't really have any way to steal this Baron. They're literally on vision as well. There's a ward smack dab in the middle of the pit, but I don't think there's anything WLS can do here. Even entering is dangerous.
Yeah, as you see them trying to do so, quality player doing very well to play the front line and keep them out of the pit. J4 secures the Baron, and I'm not sure that Solberg can find anything off the back of this. He finds a 2-man knockup, but will it be enough? It looks like Syndra's doing quite a bit of damage back onto the members of WLS, and WLS just have to walk away, even though they should have been able to look for a fight after a Baron.
I think that WLS actually managed to stall out the resets from the winning formula enough to the point where they could look for this dragon. You can see that Lee Sinners, managed to get onto the map. He did finish his reset while that fight was going on. So the Jarvan is here, and yeah, I think that WLS, knowing that they're so close to the dragon, are just gonna back off.
Yeah, it's very sad. Obviously, they tried to look for something off the back of that Baron, tried to get a play, like you said, a neutral objective in turn, but won't be able to find anything in the end. The True Shot Barrage is nowhere near in time to be able to secure that dragon, and it will be Infernal Soul Point for TWF. If WS didn't have their backs against the wall earlier, they definitely do now.
Yeah, for sure. Now you have Baron, you have 3 dragons up. TWF really just need to split and utilize that teleport on Zokama. I think that if they put him in a side lane while the rest of them try to split, then we could definitely see a 4-1 coming here. But Solberg might have been caught, actually. Trying to look for romp of all things.
Yeah, I think he was trying to bait for his mid laner, but Random Capitals just got killed in the process. You know, if it's in solo queue, it looks like a questionable play, but either way, Birdo is taken low as well. He's CC'd by the Thresh, and he should just be taken into his doom. Zokama puts him in the dirt. Lee Sinners just gets a bailout from his Thresh, and it is 3 clean kills going the way of the winning formula.
Yup, and now Poppy has arrived. Zokuma curiously using that TP to join up with his team. I think he acknowledged that they have a numbers advantage no matter what at this point. And they managed to breach the base on the bot side, but now they're all in one place. They're all looking for resets, and this is valuable time on the Baron. I honestly feel like Aatrox would have been better just staying top there to potentially look for one more turret, because there was nothing WLS could really do to contest that. But yeah, just missing out on a little bit of gold. TWF still heavily in favor in this game. Now over 10k gold ahead. The game is basically theirs unless they hard throw.
Yeah, and only just under 30 seconds left on this Baron. I don't think that TWF can find any more of a push. They'll try and group mid lane, but I don't think they'll get much more with it. But a very powerful Baron play in the past 2 minutes, right? And next Baron spawning in 3 minutes. We were talking about the Dragon spawning in 3 minutes as well. It could be an objective trade situation, and Solbert once again finding himself caught, I have to assume.
Oh my god, Solbert.
An EQ over the wall and a Cataclysm onto the Ezreal, and it's enough CC to distract him from his support dying to the enemy ADC. And honestly, the Poppy ultimate sending Aatrox towards that mid wave might have been beneficial for him. Got him there rather quickly, and waves will be crashing in mid, crashing in top, and the base of WLS is just starting to get knocked on left and right, even after losing their bot inhibitor turret.
Yup, they are just going to take this top tower. Jinx is going to get the resets, and now it is up to them with a 4v5 man advantage to try and maybe look for more. No objectives are up, and you can see that Zokuma is trying to push in that mid lane. It's just being contested here by Birdo, but I think they are just going to squeeze onto this mid lane turret, take that as well. And yeah, they're just choking WLS out of this game. There's very little they can do, especially with a man disadvantage, as just to now Solbert managed to respawn.
It's such a difficult position to fight in. Obviously, 18 kills to 5 is quite a few. We were talking about gold advantage earlier, 14,000 gold turrets. You haven't taken a single one on the map. It just feels so dire in this position, right? You obviously can't leave your base. The line of scrimmage has been drawn to literally your inhibitor turrets, and you don't even have one on the bottom side of the map. It is such a hard position for WS to fight from. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to keep their mental up, and they don't have that much longer on the neutral objective timers. 1 minute 30 on that Infernal Soul, 1 minute 40 on that Baron. They have to find a miracle.
Yeah, I mean, the winning formula, basically their job is to just set up vision around those objectives if WLS want to contest, and that is a pretty loose if at this point, I would say. I think that there really isn't a chance that WLS can fight for these objectives. This Ezreal is 0, 2, and 4, doesn't even have 3 items complete. Arch was just completely locked out of this game, which is insane to say because we were thinking that Ezreal would be the prime carry along with this Graves to really help them win this game too, but Arch, despite the gold that his team is trying to give him, just is not able to get anything. And I feel like it is off just the back of Ezreal being a really lackluster champion in situations like these. He really isn't able to show up on teams that are able to pick him off with things like the Scout of the Week, like the hooks. It just makes his life so difficult.
Yeah, but it does look like Lee Sanderson is in a little bit of a pickle. He finds the EQ out, and Solbert is now the one who's taking quite a bit of damage. Sights are turned towards Helper in the bottom side of this fight, but I mean, Birdo isn't doing any damage. He just autoed him like 13 times, and Helper's on half HP. It looks like the flash away from Helper, he will end up falling. Already finally picks up a kill, but at what cost? So many abilities, so many ultimates, so many summoners burnt by the side of WLS before this neutral objective spawns. Zokuma trying to find something. The EQ from J4 is enough to kill the Alistar, but Jinx didn't get excited. It's the glitch where you get an assist and you don't get excited. Very tragic for this Jinx, but BMW should be able to find an excitement here. He gets excited. Zokuma flashes forward. Birdo is under threat, and he will have to flash away. 3 members left alive on either side, and it does look like TWF are very happy with the altercation that occurred.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a scuffed engage from both teams there. It felt a little bit dirty. It didn't feel like there was a lot of communication between either team to really go for that play. But nonetheless, 2 members down on WLS. Jarvan respawning soon. But it doesn't even look like they want to wait for Jarvan. They're just going to go straight for the Dragon after taking that wave. Vision is, however, there. They have to be really careful to not let Birdo in this pit.
They let him in the pit. He stole the Dragon, and it looks like Zokuma will get taken down off the back of it. A kill onto this Arya shutdown for Random Capitals, and it could get sticky really, really quickly. Obviously, this Infernal Dragon Soul being denied is very good for WLS. The Baron is also up. Will they be able to move towards the objective, though? They haven't actually gained that much of a lead. Berto is frontlining against Helper. The hook comes through. The Jinx has to flash away. It is a very, very rough spot to be in for WLS, but they've clawed back in what seemed like would be a doomed game. Face checking again gets hooked by the Thresh. The kill is picked up by a quality player. Solbert is left on his lonesome on this side of the fight, and these Sinners had trapped the Ahri. Jinx gets the kill. She gets a double. And will BMW be able to find any more? Arch has to try and walk away, lending cues. His E should be up very shortly, but it is a 5v2 in defense of their base.
Yep, minion wave is spawning. TP coming in from Zokuma, 5 members strong, and I think that they are going to look for an inhibitor here. Maybe look for the one on bot lane as well, because that is also open and available for them to take. I'm not sure if they can end the game here, but they can.
Jinx auto tech scaling. Jinx auto attack scaling.
I've seen this before.
She has 2 inhibitors. She has a turret. She has another turret. She's scaling. Look at her auto attack damage. It's enough to take down the Nexus, and it will be a second win off the back of a first win. A 6-0 regular season for the winning formula.
The winning formula. Again, I doubt the Jinx passive, and it proves me wrong. So, again, Jinx just managing to do Jinx things, and yeah, WLS. Honestly, a tragic second game. It felt like there was really nothing they could do throughout that. They were locked in. They were locked out of any advantage from start to finish. They managed to get a dragon, but that's about as much as I can tell. They got a dragon objective bounty. That's about the extent to the lead they got. It felt like this game, they were on the back foot ever since that top 2v3 that was pulled off by the Aatrox and the Jarvan. It just felt like there was nothing they could really do to go back in the game. So really big kudos to the winning formula, who felt in control of the series from start to finish, minus a little hiccup at the start of game 1.
Yeah, and honestly, really impressive play coming out from them, especially considering that in the first game we saw a very different team, right? We saw Lee Sinners absolutely carrying on that Graves. We saw quality player and Zokuma really supporting him and doing a lot of damage on, I believe it was a Garen and a Talia, right? These 2 players absolutely popping off as well. And BMW being on the back foot, right? Not doing tons of damage, being, like we said, kind of left behind in the resources department. But moving into the second game, they have a very different mindset, right? They pick J4, they facilitate their ADC. BMW absolutely pops off and shows that he deserves to have those resources allocated to him occasionally. And it really showed that there's 2 different types of ways that the winning formula has a way to win the game, right? They can play through their ADC. BMW has the carry potential, and you can play through your top side of the map as well. So honestly showing that they have a really strong team overall. Obviously, Helper doing really well to Peel in both games. And you can see in the stats, obviously 4,000 gold ahead is this Jinx doing so much in these team fights. And it's just really refreshing to see that the team can win in 2 separate ways. And they're a really strong team moving into playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be the team to beat, right? This is going to be the team to upset as we move into playoffs. Just feels like they're so ahead of the rest of the teams, because the next, best team in that respective division is now 4-2. It was WLS. And now it just feels like they are ahead and they are a favorites going into playoffs. And I think that that is pretty undisputed. And I think this series really showed why. They have a great read on the meta. They know who they want to play through, and they do it really well, just locking you and choking you out of the game as it goes on. And I mean, that gold graph, I mean, look at that gold lead. It is absolutely insane. It was them from start to finish. And overall, it just felt like WLS struggled to really find any kind of advantages.
Which is crazy to say, right? When obviously you said that WLS are the second team in the division, right? The winning formula have shown their sheer dominance over the team that is supposed to be second best. So they're just showing how big the gap is between these 2 teams, at least right now, right? There's a little bit of time between now and playoffs, so these teams have time to develop, time to figure out what's actually meta and what they should be playing around. But definitely a really strong read coming out from TWF in these 2 games. Obviously, the first game being a little bit more shaky than the second one, but once they had time to adapt to what WLS was trying to throw at them, definitely seemed like they had quite the control over the series.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to pitch to a small little break. I believe we have an interview up and ready to go. when we come back from one of the members of the winning team, the winning formula. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with one tiny little interview. We'll see you soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It was a short break, but we're joined once again by Quacks and Zokama. You're actually in the call. You just won the last series that you needed to win to go undefeated in the regular season of Dominate fall season. Like, how do you feel, man?
I mean, it's been a ride. They kind of picked me up like a week before the tournament started, and we just kind of hit the ground running, and it's been quite the time. And only on the stream game do I get pop-offs.
Hey, that's all you can ask for. You know, you have a highlight reel now. You have a little bit of a montage moving forward. And I was actually noticing BMW was a sub top laner for your team before you joined, right?
I'm not sure on that. They didn't really tell me that if they did, but I know he did play top at some point for the team before, so.
Crazy. So now just two top laners absolutely dominating for the team. And I mean, you showed why you're the top laner for the best team in the division, right? You absolutely popped off in that game. Do you want to talk about any of your thoughts going into game two? I feel like I would have been a little bit afraid of the matchup, but you definitely showed that it just wasn't scary at all.
The main concern going in was that we were looking at Ornn, but we didn't want to like have only mid lane have prio. So we want something that could try to fight it, and that's my main. So even a bad matchup, the worst matchups he could pick wouldn't work well for their comp. I'd feel because like Camille would kind of been rough, but if they grab Camille, like Thresh just shuts that character down. So
Yep.
it's kind of like they have to take a not the best pick to beat me in that matchup, and then they ended up getting that triple kill, and that would kind of sent top lane spiraling.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
come
No,
on,
go ahead,
Quacks.
Drake.
You sounded like you had a
Well,
point.
Well, so I was just gonna ask, kind of ask my question. So I guess my question was, so now that we are done with regular season, right? Best of one, just the regular season is over. So are there any teams now that you guys, are undisputedly undefeated and are one of the teams that are probably favored to win the whole thing going into playoffs? Are there any teams that sort of worry you or any players that you're eager to play against, specifically in your top lane matchups?
Um, I know looking at the stats, there's I think some names I haven't seen that look like they'd be interesting matchups to go for. But I feel like a lot of people in top in general have been a very weak side. I think one of my first games was against the Rumble that I kind of got diffed on. So I want to run that back because that's a matchup that I kind of right afterwards was like, I need to figure that one out because it did not go well on both my mains. So
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that
We
man,
keep
that
doing it.
man would like third pick Rumble and then shit on me, and it was like, damn, this guy knows that character.
I mean, Rumble's so strong. If obviously he's piloted on the right player, but obviously your team outperformed. Like just everyone on the team was playing so well. Was the intention in game one actually to play around top side to just kind of ditch BMW in the bot lane, say, you know what, we know you're playing Jinx, but like unimportant. You know, Garen needs to get fed. We need to absolutely pop off in the top side, or was it just a result of them picking Urgot and it kind of being like a little bit of a weird matchup, Garen into Urgot towards that top side?
The whole plan was to kind of still focus Jinx for the most part, but we needed the prio early, and Garen, even with Phase Rush, the worst matchup, he can try to get a proxy, try to get something stupid, and just get rotations. But it ended up, I ended up sniping a few too many kills, and then I started becoming this threat where I just press R on anyone that was looking scary, and then it was gone. And holding flash for 10 minutes on Garen is the hardest thing to do in this game, I swear. I had to keep that up for Zarya all times.
It is difficult. And did you get any of that inspiration from Adam, or was it, just watching Solo Queue, noticing that Garen's quite strong and just picking up the champion?
So I got a ping at like 2 a.m. that said I'm going to play Garen, and
Today.
that's kind of where it came from. Yeah,
There's
pretty
no
much.
way. To be fair,
Yeah.
champion is pretty simple. I'll admit.
They're like, "Do you play any Garen?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "All right, you're playing Garen." I'm like, "All right, cool."
I mean, fair enough. That's exactly what we want to see out of coaching staff, you know? And so is the meta read just from the coaching staff then, or do you guys all kind of just play what's meta at the moment and it's like a little bit of comfort going into it as well?
It's a mix of both. It's definitely everyone's inputting on kind of what they feel for each matchup as well as just what we're looking for in the comp. It happens that just a lot of things that I think we're interested in are somewhat meta, so we're on that. But a lot of games too, I've run a lot of this season. I'm still running Kled, and I don't think I see Kled anywhere else. So
Yeah, making your own meta, that's what we like to see here in Risen, you know? It works sometimes.
I know
Sometimes
our
it
jungler wants
doesn't.
those hack room games, but no one's letting him have them. But when he
Oh,
gets
yeah.
them, it's gone.
There's no shot pros playing Hecarim in the games. I will not see it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Quacks, do you have any more questions for him before we head off for the last series that we're gonna watch this season in regular season?
No, honestly, I'm just really impressed with your guys' play. I think that you guys played an absolutely immaculate series. I will say, all of these people are fakes when they're rooting for you because they predicted WLS to win, and I said it would be a 2-1 in your guys' favor. So I thought WLS would take a game off of you guys, but I thought you guys would win it the whole time. So in reality, I'm really the big supporter of the team. Just know that.
I mean, you gotta vote. You gotta vote for the underdogs. That's just kind of how it is.
That's what I mean. In my defense, you know, you gotta vote for them to lose.
Well, we'll happily be the villains of the tournament.
Underdogs are the underdogs for a reason, man. There's always there's a reason for that. Because
I
these
mean, it was
guys are
shown today.
undefeated.
It
No,
was definitely
doubters,
shown today.
no doubters on me. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you so much, Zokum, for coming on to the broadcast and having us ask you a few questions. Good luck in the upcoming playoffs. Hope to see you guys go far and hope to cast you as we get up into the playoffs. So we'll see you all later. Have a good day. See you next week.